Welcome, 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 welcome. Come on in. Let's join me for this weekend festival chat. We are getting ready to speak with Miss Precious Price. Thank you so much for joining. I am Amina Carter. Thank you, LL Boogie 12, for joining. I hope to see you all at the Weekender Festival on August 10th and 11th. There are morning sessions and evening sessions for the NetWorth Summit. Thank you, Andrew, for coming in. Andre Warner, for coming in. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for joining in as I speak with Miss Precious Price. She's going to be talking to us about the tiny house movement. That's accessory dwelling units. This is an interesting subject. I'm so thankful that you are joining in. Please invite your friends, invite your aunties, uncles. This is some good information that she's going to share this evening. And I just want you all to join in because this is an interesting subject. I see Precious Price has joined. We are waiting to let her in soon. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Please invite your friends. Talk about an interesting subject. As I researched Precious, it was something to learn about. And so I'm now excited about the tiny house movement. So you guys don't want to miss this. Our Weekender Fest is August 10th and 11th. And Miss Precious Price has just joined us. She will be speaking at the NetWorth Summit. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Miss Precious. How are you?
I am amazing. How are you?
I am great. I am so excited that you have decided to join us for this chat. I've been researching you all week. And let me tell you, this tiny house movement that you have going on, you have to tell the people about the tiny house movement. But first, you are a leader and consultant, a change agent in real estate, 25 years old at the time. You were doing it big, still doing it big. And now you have just done so many other things with this tiny house movement. I love the fact that you are spreading the gospel on the excess land that we all have. You're telling us what to do with that excess land. So I thank you for joining. And just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, number one, for having me. I'm super excited about next week. The summit is going to be amazing. So if you will be attending, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to being in attendance myself and just soaking up everything that's in the room. Like, this is going to be incredible, incredible, incredible. My name is Precious Price. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I got started in, I guess you can say, so what I like to call like small scale development, right? The small scale development space about 3 or 4 years ago now. Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago now, when I basically put what many people colloquially know as a tiny home in my backyard. Of course, I know you mentioned it when I first joined the call. You were talking, the formal term is accessory dwelling unit. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of this pop up, especially like the aftermath of COVID, right? And of course, the aftermath of everything that happened in 08 and 09 now has created what we see within the housing market today. And ADUs in particular, meaning like people that are using their existing property space to create more housing, is becoming one of the primary ways that many cities are now beginning to offset what our current housing market looks like, which right now, if you are not familiar and you have just been living under a rock, currently, for many people, most people, right, the housing market is unaffordable. They are not able to find the types of units that they need, right? Because at this point, our housing market was specifically designed initially for families, right? Like families, maybe you have 2 parents and then you have 2 kids, a dog, like 4 or 5 people. But now in our current makeup of society, more and more people are looking for spaces to accommodate just 1 to 2 people. Less folks are starting to have children at a younger age. So all of these factors kind of play into it. So ADUs came about as a solution because, number one, it's a smaller way, like you get just the amount of space that you need, but it's also far more affordable, and you're using, again, more space that's already kind of in these urban areas in local cities. So I think it's really cool. So 3 years ago is when I put my tiny house in my backyard. I created an entire docuseries around it, and that is what kind of put me on the map in terms of, you know, being in real estate, being in this small scale development space. And then even furthermore, now what I do is I run a startup where we help other homeowners across the nation do the exact same thing. So how do you get started, and how do you really figure out what can I do, right? Like what's possible on my property, and how can I maximize what I already have, rather than going out and trying to like acquire and get more and more and more, because we can still make really, really good money, and we can still make a really, really good impact when we just use what we have and maximize that. So that is basically what we do. And that's where I am coming from. I currently run marketing for that organization. So everything that I do is via a marketing lens. So it's been really cool.
That's wonderful. Speaking of the tiny houses, I was reading something on your IG page about how it impacts the homeless individuals. So talk to us about that.
So how ADUs impact the homeless. So specifically when I talk about the homeless, right? And this is a really good segue to then go into looking at my TED Talk. I did a TED Talk on why we need to rethink housing and just the landscape of homelessness as well. But homelessness comes into play here because typically when we think about homelessness, we only think about the people that are living on the street, that we see on the street, that might be asking for money, that they might be on corners or whatever it is. But there's this, like, a large group of people, right? And many folks, like, you're probably connected to someone who is in this category that many people have termed the hidden homeless. Hidden homeless meaning that you might not yet be on the street, but you might be on your path to that point. Because housing is unaffordable. You might be living in a hotel or motel. You might be staying with family. That is still housing instability. And until we get to a point of housing stability for everybody, right? Until we get to that point, like none of us can really get to this whole, as a society, upward social mobility is what it's called. None of us can get to that point because housing at a very basic level is connected to how you're able to get to work, the types of schools that your children have access to. If you're spending too much on housing, that then plays into how much you're able to spend for food and groceries and medicine and all of these other factors. So when we're looking at ADUs have become a really good way for folks to kind of mitigate that middle category of the hidden homeless, meaning that we might not necessarily be able to get folks off the street, but we might be able to prevent people from getting to that point of already being on the street, because many people tend to use these structures. Number one is like more affordable housing. They'll rent it out to people in their community. And even furthermore, they might rent it to, or not even rent it to, but open it up for more vulnerable family members, right? So family members that might be in a difficult time right now. You might have older parents. You might have adult children that they're still trying to get their bearings. That's where ADUs come in as like a really viable solution.
Right. So I hear you mentioning a lot about community. Talk to us about your connection with community.
I mean, my connection with community, we're all a part of a community, right? Like we're all, just regardless, we're all a part of a community. But I think community comes into play specifically here because what we try to do specifically, again, at my company, Gather ADU, is we are helping people to understand that you have far more of a stake within what is going on around you, the development of your community. You have far more of a stake in that than you think you do. So when you're looking at this, many homeowners, whether you're looking towards home ownership or you are already a homeowner, you need to make sure that you are involved, right? Like you're involved in what's going on. You're attending your local, neighborhood meetings. You're attending your local zoning meetings to figure out the conversations that are being had, because they're having conversations on what the development is going to look like in your neighborhood, in your city. They talk about the outlook, they talk about their goals, but if we're not a part of these conversations, it's going to look less like what we need and more like what other folks' needs. And if we can be honest, many of these, like across the board, nationwide, many of these meetings that are happening, whether it's for zoning, city council, or whatever, it's older folks, like seniors, that are attending because they have the time, right? Like, who has the time to go to something on a Tuesday at 3 p.m.? Someone who's retired. But they are making decisions that are then going to impact a community or an area that they might not even see, like, they might not even be there to see the fruit of the decisions that they're making. So that's why it's super important for homeowners now, and more particularly like millennials, younger homeowners, to get more involved within their community development. And ADUs, again, like speaking toward that, it is a great way for you to build community, because we're getting more into, again, like being in community with each other rather than just living next to each other. Because the goal for so many people, which honestly, this is what we're taught, so we cannot blame anybody. I mean, there's somebody to blame, but we won't say that. But it's like, it's what we're taught, right? In terms of buy as many doors as you can. When I make it, I want to get the really big house out in the suburbs with the car, a huge lot, like, and we want to go big. We want to go big, but not understanding that when we do that, we then take away that aspect of community, of being able to go knock on your neighbor's door and go borrow a cup of sugar and then catch up on conversation of what's going on in life. And that's where that comes in terms of like this ADU piece, because there's this like multi-generational living aspect that comes along with it as well. That just, again, it allows us to just be in community far more than we ever would have if we didn't have this option.
That's good. So the Weekender is all about uplifting the community, bettering the community, and just encouraging the city of Harrisburg as far as the Weekender is concerned. So what will you bring to the NetWorth Summit that is for this specific people, this specific neighborhood? What will you bring?
Well, I am bringing the knowledge around you being able to actually get an ADU for yourself. So many people, and that's the piece of why we even started this, right? This awareness and this education around accessory dwelling units or backyard homes. Many people don't even realize that they might be in an area where something like this is possible. And for many of us, specifically, again, those that may be at this event, people of color, right? The diverse community, we tend to look at, I don't know, let's say a backyard home, and our mind immediately goes to like, oh, well, a pool house, or we think of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it feels so out of reach for us. But the thing is like, it's far more in reach than you think it is. And then even furthermore, there are resources available for you to actually make this happen for either a low price or honestly like free, because they're beginning to create programs and grants around accessory dwelling units, and many cities are rewriting their codes because, again, they are on board and they understand that we need more housing. More affordable housing, but even furthermore, more housing in urban areas. So it's like, what I'm bringing is, let's have a conversation on what getting started with an ADU can look like for you. And if you're not yet at that point of home ownership, how can you begin to think about the process of ADUs, or like the possibility of an ADU for whatever home that you might be in the process of purchasing, because it may be ADU eligible.
Okay, you mentioned low price. What is a low price? And the reason why I'm asking is because people want to know, if I can really afford this, can I really do this? Is it possible? And I think that the purpose of the Weekender festival, we want to give the community the message that it is possible. We do not have to stay where we are, wherever that is. So talk to us about that low price.
So there are people that make some type of small structure, a tiny structure happen in their backyard for $20,000 to $25,000. Now, will it have all of the bells and whistles that you might think of a home, right? Of being connected to water and all of that? That's a different question. So low price is relative. It's a little hard for me to pinpoint like, okay, this is exactly how low we can go, because it's going to depend on location. It's going to depend on materials. It's going to depend on your local labor market and the contractors that are there. But when I say low price, I mean lower than what you would likely be paying if you go out and get another house with a separate door on a separate property. That's what we say when we mean low price.
Awesome. Awesome. I don't want to hold you, but before we, what message do you want to leave for the people of Harrisburg?
What message do I want to leave? I think I mentioned it and I touched on it earlier, but you have far more of a stake in your community than you think you do. Even if you are a renter, even if you like you're not a part of a homeowners association, you are still able to attend these meetings. You still should attend these meetings and know what's going on within your community.
Right.
So that's the message that I would leave, is get more involved. Like if you do nothing else after this call, go look up one of your local like city planning or city council meetings that are happening, because they happen all the time, like literally every other week, at least once a month. Look one up and go to at least one of them. Go to at least one and just look at the landscape and just figure out what you want to do from there. But go to one. That is what I will tell people, because once you do that, it just puts you in a position to begin rolling and meeting the people that you need to meet to get that upward mobility, to get to that point where, you know, you feel like you are financially stable.
Right. So if I attend August the 10th, your session, what do I need to bring with me if I want to get this process started?
Notebook and an open mind. That's it.
A notebook and an open mind. I love it. So simple. I don't have to stress. So I'm excited again to have you at the NetWorth Summit, August 10th. That is a Thursday. We will be in the building. We will be open and ready to hear what you have to say, what nuggets you will drop on our laps. Thank you so much, Precious, for just being a part of this, for changing the narrative and being a part of the Weekender. You are making a difference in the world. You have a strong impact. Just from all this week, like I said, from researching you, you have just inspired me, and it's given me something to think about, how I want to invest. So thank you so much. I want to thank our sponsors. We have a lot of sponsors for the weekend. We want to thank our sponsors: Aetna, Hershey Entertainment and Resorts, Nestle, Purina, BB&T, Gateway Health, Hamilton Health Center, Dauphin County, Fulton Bank, CIE powered by Harrisburg University, The Bridge Echo Village, Harrisburg Hilton, UPMC, La Catora, Levels Ready Entertainment, the Harrisburg Housing Authority, and the City of Harrisburg. We thank you for helping us make the Weekender possible. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. Please come to the NetWorth Summit August 10th, and also come to the block party, which is on the 11th, and that's the Friday. Thank you so much, Precious.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.